I've got something to say, Paul. And it's fine. What a show we got for y'all today. We got a special guest coming all the way from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and he ready talk to me a little bit. He want to debate me a little bit. But we ain't debate for no arguing. We get some clarification. Let's get it. Let's go. So I've got something to say. Podcast is live. Tell a friend to tell a friend they need to come on in. Shout alive. We got a special guest coming from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, one of our swing states, one of the states that make the difference in these elections, and he's here. He's already in the backstage. He's warming up. He's getting ready for a 12-round bout with the great one, the top sofa, Daryl the best. Mailboy in this thing, but one thing I can say about this guy, he's an awesome guy, man. We step aside. We don't always align politically with our views, but we always align politically as me. We always align as me. So let's turn the temperature down up in here a little bit and let's get the party started. Started up in here from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We got Jason Ali, known to most people as Pope. Come on in. He's getting added from the backstage as we speak. Let's get it. Let's go.
Thanks for having me, man. It's a pleasure to be on the show. Thanks for having me, Mobo.
Shout out to you, Mr. Ali, Jason Ali. That's what I call him, but most people call him Pope. So tonight we're gonna call him Pope.
Oh man.
Yes. So before we get in here, I'm gonna give him a little background of what we got going on right here. Then we'll get right to it. Your time is valuable to me. Your time is valuable to our guests, and we appreciate you so much for coming on. I've got something to say, podcast. Well, we cut through the noise and straight to the facts. Tonight, we're going to dive into a critical conversation that affects Black America. Our vote, our power, and the information or misinformation that is being spread to keeping us from voting as Black men. We are seeing a growing movement online. This thing is getting big. The guy that I got up here ain't the only one feel like this. So this movement getting big. So we got to start putting out the information. It's fueled by influencers, pro-black voices, and they telling young man, don't vote. Sit the couch, vote the couch. But let's be real. This is nothing more than a political strategy to suppress our vote, in my opinion. While the GOP, which has no support for reparations or anything that we value, continue to push policies that work against us. So today, we have a very special guest, someone who strongly believes in his message. And he has a different perspective on the role that voting in Black America make today. So let's be clear. I respect his vision. I respect him as a man. We might disagree, but one thing I can say is that I do respect my guests. But when it comes to Black people not voting, that's what me and him draw the line. That's where we part ways. So tonight we're going to have an open and honest conversation, and my guest will get a fair opportunity to present his case, and I ask him some key questions to challenge his ideas that he is pushing. This is not about debating for the sake of arguing. It's about finding a way to make sure we are not being misled into political inaction. So stick around, and this is a conversation you don't want to miss. So we'll let you open up, Mr. Pope. We'll get a little background about yourself. Tell the people something that you want them to know.
Okay. Quite simply, I started out in podcasting during the COVID year myself. I am one of these type of people that are very interested in politics. I follow politics very closely. And that leads me into this discussion. I'm one of the type of people that voted for Barack Obama twice. And Barack Obama was the beginning of this surge and of these ideas that we hold right now. But that's pretty much it. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. As you said, a swing state. In fact, Barack Obama did come to Pittsburgh about a month before the election because they got news that Black men weren't voting. But that's pretty much it. That's all I got.
All right, so today, like I said, y'all to watch my episodes about Blacks not vote. So my position is clear. we're gonna use this first segment to clarify his position. So I'm gonna ask him a series of questions and he can answer them. Like I said, we're not gonna sit up here and have a political debate that is counterproductive to what each one of us want to do. So what we're trying to do is find the middle ground. So my first question, I know you watched my previous live on this subject. You had a lot of comments in there. So can you summarize your main disagreement with my previous discussion on this matter?
So as I recall, the main disagreement it centers around not voting or voting for the couch, as you would say. There's two different aspects of that. Number one, there's FBA, and what is FBA, which is Foundational Black American. We have gotten to a point where we recognize the con games that the Democrats play. We recognize the fact that we have much more power and that we recognize the power in our vote. But what good is power if you don't execute that power? If you never use your power, then what good is having the power? So we've just gotten to a point where we realize that they use figureheads that look just like us, like Barack Obama, like Kamala Harris. And we, for a very long time, have believed that these people are Black. And that is a very, very important aspect of that, because if they are not Black or foundational Black, then we actually don't share the same experiences. And if we don't share the same experiences, then we may not want the same things. So we're not voting for the sake of not voting or just being lazy. We're voting to exercise power and get something in return for our vote. I just don't see the point in voting and not getting anything in return, specifically for Black people or FBAs.
So when you mention Foundational Black America, which I have some background knowledge on it, do you feel that is that another way to separate Blacks? Because, I mean, if your skin color look like mine, you're going to get the same treatment from white supremacy that you would get anyway. So when you start speaking of Foundational Black America, at what point do we start to separate our own self and our vote, which we carry the minority anyway, and we start splitting up that? Where do we draw the line at coming up to a common ground of getting anything accomplished for us? Because we're splitting each other more and more.
That's actually a terrific question. One of the things that we have started to do is just look at the data and come to grips with the reality of things. The reality of things is Black America don't have any allies. We don't have friends. And the Democrats have used that type of wording against us too much. For instance, Black and Brown coalition or minorities, people of color. Those type of legislation and law always works against us, and we always come in last place. For many years, it was grants, business grants, such as that. As Black people, we can't find a business grant. Why? Because they're all used up already for the people of color. I'll give you a good example with DEI. Once studies came out about DEI, we come to find out that the number one benefactors of DEI was white women, even white men, Asians, Latinos, and Indian, okay, and people of LGBTQ community. And Black people was coming at number 6, dead last. We benefited the absolute least. And the same thing with affirmative action. So the question that we got to start asking ourselves is, why stand next to people that is only taking our resources that were supposed to be meant for us, but they take it?
Okay, so your position, and in this segment, we're clarifying your position. Your position is to hold your vote. So what specific policies or actions make you believe that the Democratic Party has done nothing for Black America? What specific policies?
Well, we can start with the crime bill. We can start right there. Again, like I said, the crime bill is something that woke a lot of people up. When you realize that you're voting for a party that's actually damaging you, damaging your families, and locked up more people than was actually in slavery. These people came back to run for president. They apologized, and they admitted that those policies were detrimental to our community. other than that, I can ask that question in reverse. We have to find a policy that actually helped us first and foremost. I cannot find a policy that helped us first and foremost, but I can look at things such as welfare. The Democrats offered welfare and gave us welfare. It's 2025. We've been on welfare now for maybe 60 years. We got to be able to take a look at the data and realize that welfare is not good for us. It did not help us. It helped a few, but as a whole, it did not help us. And I would like to add one quick thing. I'm 45 years old. I'm about to be 46. A lot of us learn politics from our parents. A lot of us really don't even know why we're a Democrat or why we're a Republican. When I was growing up, I was always taught that the Democrats are for poor people. The Democrats is for the middle class, and that the Republicans are for rich people. Okay, well, we got to start thinking to ourselves, why wouldn't we aspire to be rich? Why wouldn't we aspire to be rich? And we also got to ask ourselves, is the Democrats keeping us poor? By being for the poor people, are they keeping us poor? And policies like welfare, that kept us poor. So in order to be rich and in order to have good finances, you got to put yourself in that mindset. So that's I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, you did. So let's to push back just a little bit. When you start talking about different crime bills, which you speak of the 1994 crime bill, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you speak of the 1994 crime bill, which was a Democratic push bill. And you say that is the reason in 2025 that we're not voting Democrat, and so many changes have been made throughout that time. Throughout the last 30 years, so many changes have been made. So we're going to revert back to 1994, to a bill in 1994 to say that we're not voting today. So my question is, what no policies from Democrats or Republicans, either one, benefited Black people since 1994?
I can't really think of nothing. No politician is really doing anything for us. But that's what I'm trying. That's the point of all of this. We realize that we are the major voting bloc for the Democrats. We realize that they cannot win without us. Period, point blank. They cannot win an election without us. So once you realize that you have that type of power, then it's like, listen, you come to the table and we do good business, and you do something specifically for us. If you cannot do something specifically for us, if you can't give me something tangible in return for my vote, now I got to watch you crash and burn. Now I got to put you on your knees.
All right, so I'm going to ask this question because it was kind of in my statement. I'm going to ask this question specifically. Are there any policies passed by Democrats that you acknowledge have benefited Black communities?
No.
None?
No.
In the 50 years of the Democratic Party, no policies benefited Black Americans. That's what you're telling me.
Well, I would like to be a little bit more specific about that question. Maybe there's some policies that we've gotten some trickle down effect from, but the question that we ask is there any policies that benefit specifically Black people? That's what we ask.
So if another community is benefited from it, if it ain't just only us, there's not a benefit for us. But does the Fair Housing Act count in that? The Fair Housing Act.
I didn't understand the what?
The Fair Housing Act of 1968. Did that benefit Black people?
I'm not sure.
The Voting Rights Act of 1965, did that benefit us? Did the Civil Rights Act of 1964, did that benefit us? Did the the Education Secondary Act of 1975, did that benefit us?
I believe that it may have benefited us, but it was a trickle-down effect. It didn't benefit us specifically. And when you ask about the Civil Rights Bill, it's 2025 and we're still getting shot in the streets. And that Civil Rights Bill, listen, we have a hard time even getting it labeled as a hate crime. We could get shot in the streets unarmed and it can't even be labeled as a hate crime. So at that point, the Civil Rights Bill does not help us. But if we kill, not kill, if an Asian person is harmed, their Civil Rights Bill kicks in and you're going to be federally charged. See, so that's a big difference. And even with the LGBTQ community, if you harm someone in the LGBTQ community, you're really going to feel that. But for whatever reason, you could kill Black people that's unarmed, and it doesn't fall under the Civil Rights Bill because they're not even labeling it a hate crime.
All right, so this is a very specific question, and I want you to respond to this historical fact that the Civil Rights Act, the Voter Rights Act, and the Fair Housing Act were all signed into law by a Democratic president. What specific or trickle down was passed by Republicans that helped Black people?
Nothing that I could think of.
Okay, so what you're telling me, and I want you to clarify your position. Because I'm not here saying that the Democratic Party is perfect. Nobody is. But what's benefiting us more than anything as Black people is Democratic Party. So if the Democratic Party need the Black vote to win, if the Black voters sit out, who does that benefit?
It will benefit us, but sacrificing.
No. Which party? And I'm sorry to cut you off. Mm-hmm. Which party would benefit more from Black people not voting?
Oh, the Republicans.
Okay, so the party that have done nothing, not even a ounce for us, will benefit more from us not voting, and we'll not vote to help them to get what kind of political position as Blacks?
Yes, because at the end of the day, this is us saying, listen, to the Democrats, we hold them to a different standard. We've been loyal to the Democrats. We've been their loyal voting bloc. So we don't even worry about the Republicans. This is a clear message to the Democrats. Either you acknowledge us and you do fair business with us, or you crash and burn. And we're done accepting this idea that you can't do something specifically for us. We're done accepting this idea that as Royland stated, the Republicans will block it. Our message to the Democrats is figure it out. Your job is to serve the people. You are a politician that gets paid very well. Figure it out. It's not my job to figure it out for them, but we have one clear message to them. Figure it out, do good business with us, or you crash and burn. It is that simple.
So I ask you, you argue that Democrats have failed Black people. That's your argument. I ask you, what specific legislation has the GOP passed that directly improve Black lives? And your answer to me is that we expect more from the Democrats. So in reverse, we'll give the election to a party that have proven they would do nothing for us. That's your position.
Yes, I mean, we're playing the long game here. And like I said, you got to take a sacrifice. I mean, and executing your power is sacrificial. For instance, anytime you execute power, there's going to be casualties of war. If America right now decided to go to war with another country, all right, we could win that war, but it's still our kids that's dying in another country. Okay, so it's never that good. So yeah, man, we're going to have to struggle for these 4 years watching Trump do whatever, but this could work both ways as well. The Republicans could take a look at it and say, damn, there's a big voting bloc out there. I tell you what, the Democrats don't want to work with them. We will. But we have to show them that, listen, you have to value your vote. When you give your vote away every year to the same people, no matter what, that is not valuing your vote. That's giving your vote away. Anything that's valuable, you don't give it away. If you have a daughter, we got daughters, right? You don't want your daughter to give her body away, right? Because it's valuable. Okay. So we treat our vote like that. Our vote is valuable. I'm not going to give it away just because. I'm not doing that anymore. You have to give me something in return for my vote.
So do you respect and acknowledge and pay homage to our black leaders such as Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, many leaders. Why did they always work directly with Democrats to push legislation, push civil rights? Why did our black leaders, because none of them never turned to Republicans to push legislation? Why?
Well, first of all, I don't believe that to be factually true. Martin Luther King Jr. was a Republican, and our people in that time were Republicans.
I never, and I don't mean to cut you out. I want my point to be clever. He worked directly with Lyndon B. Johnson, he worked directly because and I mean that's a whole different when the Dixiecrat Democrats started to become Republicans. We could get into all that, but that's a deeper conversation. I asked why did he work with Democratic leaders in the Democrat Party? Our black leaders work with Democratic leaders, but go ahead.
I believe that he worked with whoever was in power. Lyndon B. Johnson was in power, so he worked with them. But if a Republican president had been in power, he would have worked with him as well. And that's the position that we take too. Hey, we're going to work with whoever is going to come to the table and do business with us. But we are kind of dependent on the Republicans to do it because the Republicans are losing and they want to win. They want to get back into power. And it's just a simple request. We're simply asking that you give us something in return for our vote. That is not unfair. That's not unfair at all.
All right, so if the Democratic Party has done nothing for blacks, why have Republican policies historically opposed civil rights legislation?
I don't know that they have opposed civil rights legislation.
What's happening to the Voter Right Act right now?
Okay, I mean, right now, Trump is doing some weird stuff, but I could push back on that as well. I don't see him doing anything to take away our civil rights. But what is he doing?
So rolling back DEI is not pushing back our civil rights.
No, it's not. DEI is not a civil rights legislation. And again, we've already shown the civil DEI benefits us the absolute least. You know what? I'm about to be 46 years old. I never in my life got a job because of affirmative action. And I really don't know any black person that has. It's a myth. It's a myth. And quite frankly, we don't need it to get our jobs. We don't.
So you said DEI is not a civil rights legislation. So the good old boy system worked just fine, because that's what I'm hearing. The good old boy, where we got qualified people that don't even get a look because of the people in power looking at the people that looks like them. Now that DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion is involved, you telling me that what is the point of Walmart putting $100 million Target which put money in that? NFL, everybody started to buy into this DEI, and you said that we benefited the least, but did we benefit? Because before DEI or affirmative action, there was no benefits. So you want to take it back to the Jim Crow days, and I'm not saying you do. I'm asking, in the Jim Crow days, we didn't even get a look at those jobs. That's what those programs were started for. That's what that legislation was passed for. So I'm trying to get your position on how that's not a civil rights issue.
No, you know what? Just to clear the red tape, we're just asking for things to be worded correctly. We don't want to benefit least. We don't want to be the sixth benefactory. And we should never participate in something that's supposed to be for us, but white women and white men benefit more than us. That literally doesn't make any sense. So we're just asking for the wording to be correct. Okay? Take away minority, take away person of color, and maybe make it lineage based. But if it's supposed to be for us, make it be about us. That's all we're asking, and figure that out. And I understand the pushback that Republicans may fight it, but what we're saying is, as a politician, it's your job to figure this out. Figure it out, figure out the wording, but don't give me no legislation, and it says person of color, and the next thing you know, the Latino benefits more than we do. That's not right either. That's not right. And that leads me down another road. When you participate in an illegitimate system, you legitimize it. And what we're saying is the voting system right now is illegitimate. It's illegitimate.
That sounds like a Trump talking point to me. So you saying the voting system, that explain to all the people that's listening, how is the voting system illegitimate?
Okay, no, I'm not talking about the election. I'm not talking about that. What I'm saying is
the system together.
What I'm saying is these politicians are not working on our behalf. And I've said this over and over. I don't understand a Republican that is so excited about being a Republican. I don't understand a Democrat that's so excited about being a Democrat. The Democrats fail us time and time again. And the Democrats failed the country. Anybody that's upset and crying about Trump, take that and take a good look at the Democrats, because the Democrats failed. They had one job, and it was to beat Donald Trump. And what did they decide to do? They decided to put a candidate out that never even won a primary. Now, what kind of sense does that make? She never won a primary, but now she's supposed to beat someone that's already won a presidential election, and he has one of the biggest cult followings of any president in the history of America? That is what I'm talking about. We need to take a look at the party.
Being that Kamala, Vice President Kamala Harris at the time, did not win a primary because the number one reason Trump won, and the Democrats lost, and Kamala Harris lost, is because blacks didn't vote. So being that she never won a primary, it's the reason that blacks didn't vote.
That's one of the reasons. I'm trying to be nice. But the second reason is that the Democrats always playing con games. The last thing that they should have did is to pass her off as black. They should have done that. That was a big time mistake.
Wait. Pass her off as black. So go back to your original point in your first statement. Being that she is not FBA,
right?
That means she is not black. That's what you're telling me. Because she's not so anybody that's not FBA is not black.
That's correct. And they'll tell you that themselves. If you come across a Caribbean person, they will represent Caribbean before black. Okay. If you come across an African, they will represent Nigeria and Africa before black. These people don't represent black people. They don't walk around and say I'm black. In fact, you'll find they make a huge distinction. The only time you see this stuff is when they want to get into politics and they need the votes. That's it. And if you look if you really take a closer look, a lot of our elected officials are actually immigrants. They're not black, but they will pose as black. Also, you have to understand that Kamala Harris just we could accept her. You know, we can accept her as she was, but it's just an insult to our intelligence to pretend like that. So that's the point. That's the point of all. Like, don't insult us because now we don't trust you.
So let me ask you a question. In 1965, if Kamala Harris trying to get in the University of Alabama, would she be able to walk through the door?
That's not the point.
I'm asking the question.
No.
If she wanted to go to the whites only restroom, would she be able to go through the door?
No.
If she wanted the whites only pie, do she get the whites only pie?
No.
So I'm trying to see, when people got skin color that look just like me and you, we're gonna start to separate. We're starting to separate them because of who their parents and grandparents and great-grandparents or where they was born at. So at what point do we unify? Because if you start to take the foundation of Black Americans, and we already are a minority, a huge minority, if we start to take the foundation and we only classify those people as black, how much of a minority we are then?
This is very important to point out, okay? The separation is never on our side. If you take a look at black people, most black people are just like you. They say the same sentiments. They want unity with other people that look just like them. We're the ones that fought for immigration so they will have the right to come over here. So it's not us trying to not be unified with them, but it's us just recognizing the absolute truth. They're not our allies. If you step outside of politics, there is no aspect of society where Indians or Jamaicans or Africans or Caribbean people are our ally and we work together in unison. It doesn't exist. Nowhere, no way. Indian people, I live in the city of Pittsburgh. I could walk down the street and say hello to an Indian person. They're not saying hi to me back. They're not. So we just have to be honest about this. Now, when it comes to politics, when they give us a Barack Obama, Black people get behind him and say, that's our brother. When they give us Kamala Harris, we get behind him and say, that's our sister. But in reality, as soon as it's over, she's not. And that's why she goes so far to say that, she washed collard greens in her bathtub, because she has to make that connection with us. Okay.
I mean, I don't understand if she went to a historical Black college. You mean to tell me you don't think she been around no collard greens?
When she says that she washes her collard greens in the bathtub, that's enough information. And don't know Black people wash their collard greens in no bathtub.
I don't remember that exact statement, but she got a relationship with collard greens. I can guarantee you that she went to Howard University. But
that's fair.
The point I'm making is that we should be finding more allies instead of trying to get rid of allies. And I don't get how that we as a Black race, a colored race, a people of color can afford to start shoving off people of color. It makes absolutely no sense to me. But that's a different argument. That's a different conversation, because I know we got to get out of here soon.
But can I respond to that? Look, this is very important for us we have to be more sophisticated politically. Okay, we have to understand what the Democrats are doing to get our vote. All right, if the Democrats was sincere, they would have allowed us to choose our own candidate. They would allow us to choose an FBA person. Just notice how all of these people that are put in position to be president, they're not FBAs. They're not. That's an issue in itself. Why isn't Jasmine Crockett in position to be president? That's not going to happen. No one would question Jasmine Crockett if she's a FBA or not. That's not going to happen. But ultimately, this is the point of everything. When you come from a different place, when you come from the Caribbean, when you come from Nigeria, when you come from Jamaica, okay, you have a different experience. You don't have our experience. And in fact, they have a different relationship with the power structure. Here in America, FBAs fight against oppression. We fight against racism like nobody on the planet. Nobody on the planet fights like FBAs. So they have a different experience and they have a different relationship with the power structure. But we vote them in as elected officials. When they're in, they forget about us. It happens every single time.
My next question, if political disengagement is the answer, if the answer is don't vote, what Black communities should be doing to improve our situation? What can we do? So since voting is not the way to improve our situation, how do we improve our situation?
Okay, that's a great question, and I'll answer that, but I do want to say voting is an excellent tool to improve our situation. And when we say vote for the couch or don't vote, that don't mean don't vote forever. We mean we will vote when the Democrats come back to the table or the Republicans come to the table and they're ready to give us something in return. That's it. And it's crazy. You know what? This is my true statement to that. People that disagree with us, y'all should still be on our side. Because at the end of the day, we're doing it for y'all. We're doing it for us. We're trying to help. We're trying to help our situation.
And I don't like to cut y'all, but I got to say that people like you and the ones who say that it's the reason Project 2025 is activated. It is activated as we speak. Now, so when you say we should be thanking y'all or agreeing with y'all, that's just not gonna happen. because at the end of the day, people sitting out, especially a person like you, and I'm not attacking you personally, but we needed Pennsylvania, as you know, you're a Pennsylvania native. We needed Pennsylvania, but when we start seeing the thinking and the alignment that black men that understand that Trump is now in the process of trying to get prosecutorial immunity to cops who kill black men, when Trump trying to dismantle the Department of Education. You stay in Pennsylvania, I stay in Alabama. Do you think that dismantling the Department of Education for somebody who live in Alabama, that live in a rural county in Alabama, is the best thing for us? Because that's all of that is labeled, all of that, everything I just mentioned is right there in Project 2025.
Yeah, I don't have a fear of it because I do believe that something needed to be done. Our Department of Education is absolutely awful. It's terrible. It stinks. Our children are not being educated. Black children specifically. Our boys are reading at what, a 5th grade level. So something did need to be done. And from what I understand, I could be wrong about this one, but it's not that he's trying to dismantle the department. Well, he's trying to dismantle the Department of Education, but he's simply putting it back in the state's hands.
Okay,
So it's
I
not
stay
like
in Alabama. I stay in Alabama. So if you know in your history, your civil rights history, or black history, any type of history, regular history, white history, the state of Alabama, state of Mississippi, state of Georgia, state of Florida, when have the states of the southern states, you stay up north, yours might be a little different, but when have southern states ever favored black kids in the school? They didn't even want us going to school with them until federal legislation was passed. So how do you think people from Alabama will ever support Alabama taking over our schools?
I'm not sure, but I will say this. We are a resilient people, and we need to go back to the spirit of our ancestors. I don't know
when.
when.
To the Jim Crow laws. I mean,
No,
I ain't saying that you're saying that, but no, and I apologize. I do apologize. I'm not saying that you're saying that, but going back to the spirit of our ancestors had to have that spirit because of the Jim Crow laws. They fought. They were. And this is my most important question I got for you. If holding our vote is the answer, why did our ancestors, the spirit of our ancestors, fight so hard for the right to vote?
So our ancestors voted for our right to vote. They did not fight for our obligation to vote. That's two different things. And also, our ancestors were fighting for our right to vote with the information that they had at the time. This is more than 60 years later. So as their strategy and their political strategy changes, we have to change our political strategy. We do the same thing. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. We have to show the Democratic Party that we got the testicular fortitude to let them crash and burn. We have to. There's no point in having power if you won't execute it. And I'm sorry, but I'm just not that afraid of Trump or anything that he's going to do to sit here and continue to be in a toxic and terrible relationship, because that's what we have with the Democratic Party. We're a battered woman. That's what we are. They kick our ass every chance they get, but we stay with them. It's time for them to come to the table and give us something for our vote. Again, that is not asking for too much. And if anybody has any anger towards Trump and Project 2025, look at the Democratic Party. They let you down. They failed you.
I mean, I'm baffled. I'm not surprised because me and you have these conversations through Facebook, whatever. But I mean, hearing it, and I don't understand. I ask you a question: what has the GOP, what has the Republican Party ever done for black folks? And your answer was nothing. And your answer to that is just give it to them. Give it to them. They're not going to do nothing. Now, but I also ask you if there any legislation passed by Democrats to help black people. And so what I'm gonna have to do, which I'm not prepared to do tonight, I'm gonna have to go through all of, because I have done it, all of the legislation that has been passed for black people. None of it specifically for black people, but all of it for black people. But I'm gonna try to find something the GOP did for black people. And right now, not voting at all helps the Republican Party.
Yeah, I mean, have you come up with something that the Democrats done for black people? I know you went back to 1968 for the housing bill. That was 1968. Okay, in recent memory.
I said recently DEI, but you said that. I mean, you pushed back on DEI. I pushed you. I said affirmative action. You pushed back on that. Everything.
If you do a ranking and you find out that affirmative action and DEI benefited 6 groups of people before you can't say that was for you. I mean, that's just common sense. Like, listen, if I walk into my house
on the list, and I have to check your stats on that because I'm not. I ain't saying you're right or wrong, but if you on the list, you on the list.
Okay, listen. If I walk into the house, right? If I walk into my house, all right, I have a wife and 3 of my kids are here, okay, and I bring in a box of pizza. Okay, and everybody ate, but my oldest son only got 1 slice of pizza. He can't walk away from that saying, "Man, Dad brought pizza back for me." He can't say that. Everybody else had 4 slices of pizza. We left him 1 little slice of pizza. He can't walk away from that saying.
Hold on, did he get some pizza?
Yeah, he got 1 slice. Everybody else got 4.
But he might not got as much pizza as he wanted, but he got pizza. So he was benefited because he got some pizza. Now, if he was expecting Daddy to give him the whole box, then that'll be your argument. That's your argument. But at the end of the day, he got pizza. So when the question I asked was we benefited by any legislation, even in recent memory? And you say it's not, because we're 6 on the list, but we're on the list.
All right. Okay. Now, I would like to show you something, though, how this works hand in hand. What you'll find a lot, and you'll see this a lot if you go to CEO corporations or anything, okay? When black people are getting these jobs through affirmative action or through DEI, you'll often find that they have a combination. And that combination normally is they're part of the LGBTQ community. So you'll find that. But you'll be hard pressed to find a heterosexual black man that got a job due to DEI. That is something that is terribly hard to find. But you will find a black man that's a part of the LGBTQ community that got a job due to DEI. So it's a lot of trickery and it's a lot of nonsense. And all we're asking them is keep the DEI, keep affirmative action. We don't care about that. But just word it correctly so that we could get something that actually does benefit us substantially. That's all. We would like 4 slices of pizza. That's all.
I think that we're clouding the vocabulary with saying specifically. The only person that benefit from this is black. The only person. First of all, that makes 0 sense, because that is reverse discrimination. If you literally just want something that benefit black, I want something that benefit everybody, including blacks. And your position, and I can understand why y'all are not vote. And you'll probably never vote then. If you want something that specifically only, that means the only person benefit from this is blacks. It's no bill passed other than white supremacy bill. Project 2025 know who it benefits.
Okay.
Because see, we got to learn and understand.
Now, who does it benefit?
Project 2025. White supremacy. It ain't even for debate.
So let me get this right. So on the other side of the aisle, they could do something that benefits them specifically.
Right.
But we're supposed to deal with Democrats and saying, man, we just
So
can't give you nothing specifically. Are you serious? Think about what you just said.
I get exactly what I'm saying. So what you're looking for to vote is black supremacy.
So we know that we are oppressed in America. So we're looking for some equality. Okay. We're not looking for no supremacy. We're looking for some equality. That's it. We're looking for fairness. That's all. If we get shot unarmed, we're looking for a federal law that would slap hate crimes on them and execute the civil rights bill. That's all we're looking for. And you brought up the civil rights bill. Okay. But what you didn't bring up is the fact that I'm sorry, you brought up Trump giving immunity to the cops. But what you didn't bring up is Biden and Kamala, they didn't federally prosecute any officer that or any person that killed us.
I disagree. Derek Chauvin was federally indicted.
That wasn't, and he got state charges as well.
Right.
But I'm saying
he did get federally indicted. So Derek Chauvin, according to Project 2025, which we in the early stages would have prosecutorial immunity and qualified immunity, meaning that you can't even civil sue him, according to Project 2025. Now, it hasn't happened yet, but a lot of things, they going down the list. They use the Elon Musk and the rest to go down the Project 2025 list. I know you're paying attention to that. Correct?
Well, I have an issue with that as well, because at first you guys said it was Project 2025. There is no Project 2025. Now you guys have said, they're doing things in Project 2025. But there is no Project 2025 label. And I also, when it comes to Project 2025, I have a hard time seeing a bunch of things that's so terrible about it. And it's just another fear tactic from the Democrats. We're not afraid. I don't understand. We are not afraid. We're not afraid. And as someone,
you say it's a fear tactic when our children, our itty bitties are being affected. Ours. So when you start to say that this is a fear tactic, it's not a fear tactic. This is reality. It was a fear tactic during the election. Now that the election has passed, Trump voted in, and now that these things that was in Project 2025, which we talked about right here on the South Got Something to Say podcast, guess what? They are happening.
Like what?
Happening. Federal judges are blocking a lot of things. Oh, you want to know what? DEI. You don't respect it, but that's one of the things that we talked about. We talked about it in detail over here. Dismantling the Department of Education, dismantling the Department of Veterans Affairs, 70,000 veterans laid off. So when we start talking about the things that we saw before he was elected, while everybody sat down there waiting on whether Kamala was black or not, when we were trying to figure out if she was a black woman or not, while we were sitting up there trying to figure that out, they had a plan. And they infiltrated into black media and told us the same thing you're telling us. Now, you truly probably believe this. But now when you start to get into other blacks' head, and then I never heard anything, and you may have, and I keep my ears to the streets, but I never heard nothing about foundational black Americans until Kamala Harris became the Democratic nominee. Not one time in my life have I heard, and I ain't saying that it wasn't out there now. I'm just telling you about me. I never heard of it. But those are the talking points used to get Project 2025 activated. And you say it's not a real thing, but it is.
FBA's, that's been a term that we've been using for, I would like to say 5 years, four or 5 years.
So it's still a baby.
And this is the thing about it. A lot of people that are heavy Democrats, y'all don't know what's going on in the grassroots movement. That's why that. Well, no, I'm saying it. I'm saying black people that are staunch Democrats, they don't know what's going on in the grass movements. That's why this hits you that's why you were blindsided by it. But this been going on.
We wasn't blindsided by anything. It's nothing we're blindsided about.
You just said you never heard of FBAs, bro.
Okay, what I'm saying is you said we blindsided.
Yes.
What I'm saying about we wasn't blindsided, we seen all this coming. We see it coming. And the only way that you could ever separate black people or people of color is to start infiltrating them through different organizations. And you are Foundation of Black America. You are historically black. You are not really black. You are Caribbean. You are this. At the end of the day, if you're in America and you look like me and you wouldn't have got in the University of Alabama in the 60s either. You wouldn't have used the white-only restroom either. So I don't get how we can, the minority can find a way to make us more of a minority. That's all I'm saying. That makes zero sense to me. Zero.
I get it. I get what you're saying.
The FBA is 5 years old. That's still a baby. 5 years old, that ain't long enough to establish nothing. This is a talking point. This is a literally a talking point that has separated blacks. And you're right. And this goes from one of your old Facebook comments to one of my posts. FBA is the reason why Trump got elected.
I disagree. The Democratic Party is the reason that Trump got elected. They didn't do enough. They wanted to play con games, and they're the ones that put Kamala out there, and she lost. But secondly, let me say this. FBA, you saying FBA is a baby. FBA is simply saying what your lineage is. It stands for Foundational Black American. That's it. It's simply saying Foundational Black American. And the reason for that is for a reparations movement. You can't get reparations because guess what? People like yourself are running around saying all black people are the same. But we're not. If we got reparations,
so would the GOP give us reparations? Didn't mean to cut it off. Go ahead.
I don't know, but I know that when our ancestors were fighting for civil rights, I know that they dealt with people saying, you know what, they're never going to give us civil rights. But they carried on and they fought the good fight. So we're not discouraged by people telling us they're not going to give it to us. Okay. But again, you can't get reparations if you're saying that the Indian, the Caribbean, and the African are black too, because then they would have to get reparations when they never had this experience and their ancestors were never slaves in America. So that's an issue. Okay. So that's the reason why. Hold on 1 second. I'm sorry. Okay. That's the whole reason why we came up with the term FBA. All right. So we're not the ones that's trying to create disunity. We're simply showing that we don't have any allies, and we don't. We don't have allies. We're in this by ourselves.
And I appreciate your time, Pope, man. This has been a wonderful. Hey, we got to do this again about this Department of Education. I really want to have a sit down about the Department of Education. But I'm gonna let you end with this question and your final thought. Mm-hmm. If you could change one thing about the Black Americans' approach to politics, what would it be? And after you answer that question, give your final thoughts. And we appreciate you coming on to the show. I hope my crowd wasn't too hostile to you, because some of these comments I couldn't even put up there, but you knew what you were walking into. And that's a good, hey, like I said, we come to argue to disagree. We come to argue to educate. Mm-hmm. What is, some people on your side might got educated from it. Some people from my side got educated from it. So at the end of the day, if it's one thing you could change about how the Black American approach to politics, what would it be? And your final thought.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on the show. And you know, the comments, it's all good. I mean, but the one thing I would change about how Black people do politics, number one, we need to be much more sophisticated. We have to understand that their strategy changes. They don't keep the same strategy. They're not doing the same things that they were doing to our grandparents. Number two, we need to be more intellectual. We need to understand what the Democrats stand for and what the Republicans stand for. We did this entire podcast, and we didn't talk about anything that's harmful to our children, such as men playing in women's sports and stuff like that. These are all democratically ran situations, and that's not good. So there's a lot of stuff that they do to our children. But what I'm trying to say is this: we shouldn't be loyal to no party. We shouldn't be loyal to no politician. It's very simple, man. I have a vote, and I need some work done on my behalf. If you could do that work on my behalf, then you got my vote. If you can't do nothing for me, then you don't have my vote. Because I have noticed that there's an Asian hate crime bill. I have noticed that the LGBTQ community get what they need. I have noticed that people that's in the NRA, when they vote, they get what they need. I've noticed that white people under Trump and MAGA, they're getting what they want. I noticed groups of people that continue to get what they want. We just want what we want. That's it. And I think that's a fair trade. That's fair. You should never be voting and accept not getting anything.
Hey man, thank you for coming on, man. This is Mr. Polk, Jason Ali, man. What a show we had today. We thank you, man. Thank you for your time. We already gonna be in contact behind the scenes. I would love to have you back on. We can have, hey, this is a discussion need to be had. And maybe
Yes, sir.
maybe I can convince you to get these people out here to vote, because I'm tired. We can't keep doing this. We can't keep doing this, because 2026 is coming, and and then maybe you'll tell us what we need to do to get the FBAs up and vote. But appreciate you. Shout out to you, and we'll catch you on the next run.
Man, thanks for having me, Doc.
What a show we had today. We want to thank our special guest, Mr. Polk, Jason Ali. He made his points. Whether they were great or not, it depends on the people who listen. But I tell you one thing for certain, two things for sure. I appreciate having him on the show today. And moving forward, we got to look at both sides out. We got to figure out why. He told us the reasons why. Whether we agree with him or not, fuck the president. Whether we agree with him or not, fuck the president. We got to figure this out. We got to figure this thing out. And then see, the South Guys on the Same podcast ain't opposed to having these type of discussions. Now, I got a lot of people that's on my podcast that know why. That's all I wanted to get out there. Yes. I just wanted to know why. Now y'all see why. We got some work to do. Because I'm telling y'all, these folks ain't playing. They are standing on this Dr. Claude Anderson message. Y'all better go check out Dr. Claude. I don't get it. But this is where we at politically as blacks. Now we got the FBA versus the should have been FBA. You ain't really black unless your mama and your daddy was a slave, and then your daddy was a slave, but your mama was an Asian, so now you ain't black. But I can tell you one thing for certain, two things for sure. That's where we at. And we got to get to the bottom of it to move on forward. Our itty bitties don't have a chance. Shout out to everybody. Shout out once again to Polk, Jason Ali. Shout out to the chat. What a chat. Man, y'all show out up in here today. You already know the motto. Each one, teach one. Love or be loved. To the moon.